show it off real quick. That shirt is tough. But yeah, made by Mav. I love this shirt right here. Just got it today from my boy Mav, man. So coming soon. There will be more. But anyways, y'all. Bright night from the Not Our Crib podcast still, and welcome back to the podcast. This is like the first episode, but it's not my first time doing a podcast. If you remember, or if you didn't know, I did have a podcast with some friends called Not Our Crib. This is called Not Our Crib still. Reason why I had an adder to the name of the last ones because I don't remember the count information for it. But to make a long story short, we did have a podcast together back in like 2020, 2021. And I fumbled. I'm not going to lie. Kind of fumbled because, it was tough to getting everybody on board with just showing up to the podcast and for multiple reasons. And I got to the point where I just didn't care anymore. I had a different mindset back then, and I kind of threw away something that I could have been working on for like the past 3 to 4 years by myself. But it was a different time. I was still trying to find me like an actual job and not just be sitting at home trying to do a podcast and everything by myself. So I had other things to worry about, but it still should have been something I've been working on, and I do kind of regret leaving it. But today's a new day and it's a new podcast, so it's very important that we just start over and we start fresh. So without further ado, allow me to properly reintroduce this podcast. My name is Bright Night, and this is the Not Our Crib podcast still. So with this new iteration of the podcast, I just wanted to kind of go solo and focus on being solo this time. There may be guests here and there, but I'm not really worried about it. And the topics are going to be generally the same, more of a social commentary podcast, but we're going to focus more on what I would like to do or how I would like to format it, and not have to worry about any other input outside against another co-host or anything. So with that being said, how will I like to break down this podcast? You only got one person, so how are you going to format it? So since it's called Not Our Crib, I think we should definitely move forward with the whole house gimmick that I'm trying to keep moving on and going with. So every episode will be broken down so it's more digestible to listen to, because you're only getting one host, you only getting one view, and hearing me for an hour is probably going to be more annoying rather than hearing a group of people for an hour. So we're just going to make it digestible and concise for everybody, and we're going to break up the segments and title them to the appropriate part of a house. So for example, in today's first segment, I'm going to call this the yard. Now, why am I calling it the yard? Usually when you finally get home from work or from a trip, the first thing you touch down on your property is the yard. And so with DreamCon releasing tickets so early before their next event, and me just coming back from DreamCon 2024, I wanted to take the time to talk about my experience at DreamCon 2024. Now, this is my second DreamCon, and while the first one was absolutely amazing, being there, meeting creators for the first time, creators I've seen for the longest, just running into them casually, whether they were a talent or they were a fan, just showing up, making new connections, friends, seeing events and everything, just having the time of our life, being in Austin, Texas for the first time. This time around, going back to Austin and, going to meet more creators, have more fun, make more connections and everything. I gotta say 2025 upcoming definitely has a top 2024, because 2024 was terrible. It was terrible for me. Not the convention. Nobody was acting Hollywood when it came to creators. It's just my personal experience was just bad. It was just terrible, and it had nothing to do with the convention. It just had everything to do surrounding the convention. So let's just begin with the story. So I anticipate DreamCon every year. So with me getting ready to go to this next one, I could not wait to get it together. Now, I had some hiccups during this time trying to get to DreamCon, just working struggles and everything, but I saved whatever I could so I could make sure I get there, right? So it comes time for me to finally buy my plane ticket to go to DreamCon, and I bought it about a month, almost 2 months before the convention. So if you don't know, I live in Rochester, New York. So when I booked my flight, of course I chose the airport that is in the same area as Rochester, the Greater Rochester International Airport, or so at least I thought, right? The day before DreamCon, I finally get there. Knowing that I had the ticket, I always make sure I get to the airport at least like an hour, 2 hours early. It doesn't matter what airport it is. I'm always getting there extremely early. And so I make sure to go get a physical boarding pass along with my digital one just in case something happens, right? And so I go to get my boarding pass and I tell them what my flight is, and they can't find it. And they're like, where are you flying from and to again? And I said, I'm flying from Rochester and I'm going to Austin, Texas. And they look and they're like, sir, your flight's going from Rochester, Minnesota, not New York. And I'm like, what? And I look and my flight says RST, but not ROC for Rochester. And my cousin looks at me and he's just like, yo, I did notice that, but I just never said anything. What? So for however long he might have known or not known this, but prior to them telling me, I ended up buying the wrong flight to leave the wrong Rochester. I don't know if they tried to make me feel better by saying, oh, this happens a lot. But the problem is both of those cities, mine and Rochester, Minnesota, they have the same airline name. Ours just added like a few more words to differentiate. But when I was ordering my ticket, it said Rochester International Airport. And so that's what I selected because that's how I know my airport. Didn't know we shared a name. But after that, I told them like, yo, I gotta get down there. It's DreamCon. I gotta get down there. And so they were like, okay, we'll try to find you another flight, but you may not be leaving today. And I'm like, as long as I can leave tomorrow and make it to DreamCon, I do not care. And so they eventually found me another flight to leave tomorrow, and I still had to pay for it because the flight was expensive. So my credit rolled over to the new flight, but I still had to pay out of my pocket like $550 for this flight. And I'm just like, I don't care. I gotta get to DreamCon. Like, come on, it's Dream. I didn't wait this long for nothing. So after that, I went home and I just spent the day just standing there, having nothing to do. My cousin, he makes it down there. He gets the B&B because him and all his friends are gonna be down in the same B&B that I should be down there in right now. And he's just telling me, man, the B&B is so fire. It's awesome, man. Like, this place is better than I thought. It's bigger than I thought it was. Like, no diddy. And I'm just like, damn, bro. He's like, hey, by the way, there's only 5 beds. And I'm like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, there's only 5 beds. And I was like, okay, that's okay. Like, 5 doesn't sound too bad, right? And he's just like, yeah, except there's only 6 of us coming. And I'm like, oh. I was like, well, you gotta save me a bed. He's like, I'm not sure if I could do that. I'm like, last time I checked, when it came to pitching in for this B&B, somebody didn't have their part and I covered them. and I haven't been paid back. So unless they're gonna pay me back, I'm getting me a bed, whether I'm here today or not. And he didn't want to have to go through it with trying to let them know, like, yeah, he's not getting his B&B, or he's not getting his bed for the B&B because you didn't pay him. I told him straight up, I was like, listen, either I'm getting my money or I'm getting a bed, and I ain't getting my money. So I'm thinking I'm gonna get a bed, right? Dude's gonna have to sleep on the couch, right? It didn't happen that way, but we'll get to that point in a second. So it is now Friday. It is day one of DreamCon, and I'm trying my best to get there in a reasonable amount of time. So the ticket said I would be landing in Austin by 3, at least 3 my time, 2 their time. So it's right after it starts. So I have the rest of the day. And so while I'm waiting for my flight to come to Rochester, it gets delayed by a few minutes. So I'm like, all right, cool, that's whatever, nothing too bad, right? So what was a 2 to 3 minute delay, or like a 10-minute delay, turned into several hours that I would have to be delayed in Chicago, because that's where my connecting flight was. It was in Chicago, and this was going to be my first time in their airport, and I was going to have to be delayed several hours. So what time it would have been to get to DreamCon had just got pushed back. So I wasn't landing until 10 o'clock after day one ended. And when I tell you how excruciatingly boring being in Chicago was, I just had to keep myself from putting my own name on the no flight list. That's how I had to think about it, because I'm just like, once you get to DreamCon, you still have Saturday. Saturday is like the day. That's probably the best day out of the entire DreamCon for most people. Everyone's expecting it to be the best day. So eventually I finally make it into Texas. We finally land, and it's about 9 at night, 9:30, 9:40. So I have to order an Uber and still drop my stuff off to the B&B, because my cousin and friends and his friends, they're already out on the strip, and Sexy Red should be performing in about an hour. And I'm just like, oh yeah, DreamCon, attendees get to go in there and everything, so I could at least see that. I know there's gonna be a lot of people in there. So I ordered my Uber, which was $70 to get to the B&B, and then get from the B&B all the way to DreamCon. And by the time I made it there, there was no chance of me getting into the club. So I ended up running into my cousin and friends. Now, mind you, at this point in time, since there was no chance of us making it into the Sexy Red club, concert, whatever, there was still the DreamCon after party. And before I even left on Friday, I asked my cousin, I said, yo, do you think you can get my badge for me before I make it down there? I'll make sure to send you my ID, a picture of that, and a picture of my QR code, because that's all they're going to really need. He's like, yeah, for sure. He never did that. So I had already made it to DreamCon without my badge and needed to get my badge. When I got there, he was telling me like, yeah, they would need your ID and you're not here. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was telling you. I wasn't going to be there. I needed you to have a picture of it so they can hand it to me, because all they need is to see that I have an ID and I'm on the list. But he never even tried. So when we went to the after party, I had went up there and finally got my badge. And I had asked them, because I wanted to be sure, since he didn't want to try and assume they wouldn't do it. I asked them, hey, if I would have sent him pictures of my information, would you have given him my badge, since you already know I was going to be here, right? And they were like, oh yeah, we could have did that. And I just gave him the meanest look. I looked at my cousin like, bro, you didn't even try. I'm a day late. I've been delayed for several hours. I haven't gotten much sleep. And the one thing you could have did was give me my badge. It worked out in the end because of the delay. But you at least could have did the one thing I've asked. Two things at this point, but just the one thing for that day. Anyways, we finally get back to the B&B, and I look around and I notice I don't have a blanket. So I'm like, oh, okay, there's some in the drawers, right? All these drawers in this damn B&B. They got the fancy table drawers where you pull back the top, and they got nothing in that. You got the drawers by the bathroom, nothing in that. You got the drawers in the garage, nothing. They have nothing. Nothing. And I'm just like, bruh, what? So I'm thinking, if we could have booked 6 guests for this 5-bedroom B&B, you would think that they would have given us spare blankets, and they didn't. So I had to sleep with pillows all over me, man. Saturday was the better day for me specifically. You know, we finally make it to DreamCon this time, and since there was more of us than it was yesterday, we took an Uber, and I ended up paying for it. I was like, yo, I already told them straight in the morning, I already missed yesterday. I'm getting there ASAP. So if you want to come, you can come. And they were going to pay me back, or at least they were supposed to pay me back. So that also didn't happen on this damn trip. $40. $40 to drive 15 minutes to DreamCon. Uber XL, right? And I split up from my group. You know, I got the chance to meet It's Andrews, Vontae, the one. I run into King Vader. And so I tell Vader, I'm like, yo, can I get a picture and everything? And he's like, I'm actually late for a panel. And I'm just like, all right, cool, whatever. So then I see What's Good. Yo, What's Good? OGs know who he is. So I'm like, yo, you probably can't even get a picture either. He's like, I can't. I got to get to this panel. But, yo, come with us, though. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. So I walk in with them to this creator lounge. And, you know, I'm just like, damn, I didn't even think I could get in here. But because, you know, they let me in with them because I was part of their group now at this moment. I was just like, this is dope. Like, these are people I've watched growing up. And, like, they just let me tag along, which is one of my favorite things about DreamCon. Everyone does, like, from what I've experienced, no one really acts Hollywood. And I'm glad, I hope it stays like that. I heard there's other people who act Hollywood who really shouldn't be, but they didn't act Hollywood when I showed up. And now I'm chilling in this creator lounge with all these creators again, and I'm just chopping it up with different people, just getting to know them. Some people thought I was a creator myself, or at least at this moment. I was on hiatus, a very long hiatus. But I run into It's Andrews again, and if I said it before, but if you don't know who It's Andrews is, he's a very popular TikToker. He has some pretty funny skits, and like you could just go through his catalog of just amazing videos. You're just gonna always have a laugh, and that's what I love most about watching his content. But you know, I'm chatting it up with him again, and just, you know, getting to know him a little bit more and everything like that. And once the panel ends, I notice he's got a lot of stuff to carry. So I ask him, I'm like, yo, you don't mind if I carry your camera for you? And he goes, actually, you know what? Yeah, you can carry my camera. I was like, perfect. Because now I'm by myself. I'm like, yo, if I just roll with him, I might be able to get in everywhere. You know what I mean? They're cool with me. I'm cool with them. And he's like, yo, are you doing anything today? And I'm like, no, not really. And he was like, all right, you rolling with me then. And so that's what we did. I hung out with It's Andrews and his best friend, who's the cameraman, who I was holding the camera for. And we hung out. We went to the All-Star Tekken tournament. We got backstage access and everything. And I was just having a blast. I was pretty much making up for everything that I missed on Friday. And this was, like, honestly the best Saturday I had. And this was a Saturday that I needed after going through that hassle. I'm summing up how much pain I was going through from that Thursday and Friday. But it's like you just had to have been there. It was just terrible. And I'm so thankful for It's Andrews, and just being such a cool dude to let me just hang with him for, for whatever reason. Man barely knows me. He probably don't even remember my name, but it's even then, it just goes to show you like the type of cool people that is actually out there, and what makes DreamCon really enjoyable for people to like really meet creators. And but yeah, that's pretty much where it ends. Yeah, like that's after Saturday, that's pretty much where all the fun ends. And so Sunday, we go in to DreamCon, right? We go into DreamCon Sunday, and we only stay there for like 20 minutes. I'm trying to chill with the crew that I'm staying with for the weekend, and I'm like, I'm not about to go off by myself. I'm gonna chill with you guys. And they didn't even want to stay in DreamCon for that long. And we had events. There was Berlizzi's Family Feud, but they didn't want to go, and I didn't want to like be left by myself again. You know what I'm saying? Who knows who I would have ran into or whatever, or maybe all my luck kind of ran out at that point, and I was just chilling with the crew. But it just became very aggravating to me because they had a habit of wanting to do stuff, but then not doing anything and just standing around and just wasting a whole lot of time. And for that, I was just not with it. I wasn't with it. And it started to irritate me. But I just had to take my breath, calm down, and go like, listen, man, we already had a great Saturday. We've already made up for Friday. This day is going to be better. We got the whole city of Austin to explore. We ain't do nothing. Not a damn thing. We sat and did nothing the whole day. It was a waste. It was a waste of time. Not to mention me getting to the point where I was about to get into it with somebody else on the trip. We're not going to get into that. But I was like this close to just crashing out. This close to crashing out over this one person. And it got to the point where I just had to like walk away just to clear my head and everything, and it was not good. So I just could not wait for myself to go home and call it a trip. And so we get to Monday, and this trip did not get any better for me. Not only did my flight, when I finally got there, got delayed for another 30 minutes due to technical difficulties, right? It got delayed for another 45 minutes because the vice president decided to land in Austin, Texas that day. Then got delayed another 10 minutes after because of an engine problem. American Airlines, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You suck. You are terrible. I do not ever want to fly with you, and I don't think anyone should fly with you guys again. You guys are terrible. For 2 DreamCons in a row, I've had to be delayed. We don't even want to talk about the first time because I thought it was just going to be the only time. American Airlines, you are terrible. So I got delayed so bad that I wouldn't have gotten home until the next day. And I have to be to work. Today was supposed to be I go home, and the next day I was supposed to go to work. I was going to miss the next day of work. So my family was not happy with that. So they were like, yo, just buy a new ticket. We'll give you the money. And I'm just like, don't worry. I didn't really spend much money. So I'll just buy a new ticket, right? So I buy a new ticket to go on a different airline. So I'm going on Delta this time. And because they had technical difficulties as well, every one of their flights were delayed. So I just dropped another $500 to get home possibly early and at least not go to Chicago and go to Atlanta where part of my family is, only for that to still be the case of me not making it home till the next day. And it was just such a tiresome thing for me to finally get on this plane and be like, bro, I'm not even gonna make it home on time. No one checked up on me outside my family. Like when I was texting the people that I was with on this trip, I was just like, yo, I'm not gonna make it home. Because everybody else said, oh, I'm home now. I made it back. I just landed. When I tell them, like, yeah, I'm not making it home till tomorrow, it was crickets. No one said anything. I done spent the weekend with these people. I done drove us to and from DreamCon. Mind you, $40 to get there. It also cost us $40 to get back home. Haven't been paid a single dime back to this day at this time of this recording. And no one could have just checked in on your boy. But I was like, you know what? It just goes to show the type of people you should not need to be with at all. And so I finally get back, and I've never missed my city more than anything. I don't miss this city for much. It was a very stressful experience. There's other things that was happening. My city was going crazy. Batman needed to be there since I had left, right? So, people getting shot, the whole nine when you live in a city like Rochester, right? I finally get back and everything, and I just never felt so relieved to be home. I haven't in my life. But that was pretty much the sum of my experience. Just not great. And I took out certain things just because it could be said in a later video, later pod, but just all in all, it was not great. However, and this is what I want to do. The one thing I can take away from DreamCon is that every time I've gone there, I've had a different level of energy and motivation than I did before. And after getting the chance of going backstage and hanging out with other creators, again, thank you to It's Andrews, and I highly recommend you guys go see him on TikTok and Instagram. After experiencing DreamCon, I wanted to get back into creating content. And my goal is to be a talent for DreamCon, next DreamCon, right? Now, DreamCon is a lot closer than it was last year, but I'm looking that you guys can help me. So helping me on my channel, the Bright Night channel, or just Bright Night BK, helping me on my Twitch, the same name of Bright Night, the podcast, the Not Our Crib Still podcast. If you guys can help me reach that goal, please help me. Because this is something I've always wanted to do, but I've just been such a huge procrastinator and just made excuses and just not taking the right steps, or always felt that I needed more than I actually did when I really didn't. And so that is my goal, and I'm planning on reaching it. And if I don't, we still got a lot more things to do and a lot more time. So be on the lookout, and please stay tuned for more. But that is the yard, guys. Sorry if it's a little long-winded, but yeah, that's pretty much the yard for today's segment on the Not Our Crib Still podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed this piece. Now, for the movie room, I'm a huge fan of movies. I love going to the theaters. I enjoy the experience every time, and it's just always been a core memory of mine. I think, when it comes to going to the theater, I think the reason why I have such a fixation or a strong like towards it is because I always wanted to go to the movies as a kid. And I used to tell my mom all the time, every time I saw a trailer for like Transformers or Fast and Furious or any type of movie that would have came out during that time of me growing up, I would always ask, can we go to the theater? Can we go to the theater? And she's not much of a movie goer. So she would just say, yeah, maybe, but it never happened. But I always enjoyed it. And now that I'm older, I like to watch movies a lot more. So whether we're critiquing films, talking about films, reviewing films, the movie room will be the spot to talk about it. And today I wanted to talk about certain movies that I think should hit the big screen. Now for this segment, I wanted to talk about this company that has a plethora of movies that they've made and now have remade for the next generation of young adults and kids and moviegoers of all ages. And that is Disney. Now, when it comes to Disney, say what you will, if they're good at making films or they're terrible at making films, but one thing we all can agree on is that they are trying really hard on making in those cash grabs. And I think for Disney, they gotta do a lot better with expanding their horizons or expanding the catalog of films they should bring back. Now, when I say bring back films, I'm not talking about their Disney princess films. I'm not talking about their animated films. I'm referring to their live action films. And they've got a lot of really good live action films, especially ones geared towards music. that they should bring back. And I actually looked at a few things that I would really love to see Disney do with bringing them from originals to the big screen. And since they have such a cult following with some of these films, I don't see a problem with them doing it, because they could either continue their series or reboot them and just go from there. So let's get the elephant out of the room and start off with the obvious choice for live action films. Disney, you got to bring back High School Musical, the whole trilogy. Now, everybody and their mom has seen, heard, sang anything from High School Musical, man. And I remember watching 3 as a kid and just like feeling like I was graduating with them. That was just, oh my goodness, that brought tears to my eyes. I really felt like it was over, man. Like, I really like it. And it's crazy because I only graduated like, what, 4 or 5 years ago. So to get that early feeling of what it feel like to finally move upwards in life and graduate, they could always bring back High School Musical. You know, it could be another story about Troy and Gabriella, or they can put a little bit more focus on other characters from the show or from the movies. I know they made a show called High School Musical, the musical. Didn't watch it. I heard it was all right, but even then, just bringing back the classics. I think another great film that's good for movies and music for Disney is Camp Rock. Man, this is a classic, bruh. I remember watching the whole Camp Rock when they would like walk down. They'd walk down to the lake and they would say Camp Rock, and they just do the clap and stomp and Camp Rock, and that was just the thing that I would do in class, whatever. Camp Rock. And hearing a remix to "This Is Me" by Demi Lovato, oh my goodness, I've been playing that at work multiple times, like non-stop, because it just kind of, gets me pumped to really want to do better in life, really want to live my dream, and just kind of stop procrastinating and do more. Like, oh my, man, we got to bring that back, man. I hope y'all love my vocals, by the way, too. Another film I would love to see Disney do. This is one's a personal favorite of mine, so it's probably not going to happen, but Starstruck was always one of my favorites growing up. I just love the idea of a celebrity kind of coming out of, the celebrity lifestyle and being around another girl, or being around a girl who's not too crazy about the celebrity in the show or in the movie, and just kind of showing like more of a human side of the character, or like showing the more of the human side of the celeb, or Christopher Wilde for the movie, and him just kind of wanting to just be normal, or just trying to be out of the spotlight just for a little bit, for whatever. And I think they could definitely do it and update it for this day and age. Like, someone like a Christopher Wilde can go from just being a kid whose parents are like music moguls, or like own music record labels and everything, and he could be like a TikTok star this time who blew up, and his family has like grown exponentially, and they've taken this business to another level, and he's just kind of wanting to have fun, because that's what the intent of him doing, I guess, the TikTok for. And they kind of lost sight of that when they saw how much money they can make off his amazing talent that they didn't really believe in beforehand. I'm gonna just say that for like a little remix or spin to the movie. I would love to just see another remix to Starstruck, because that is one of my favorites. Like, if we're gonna not do too much of the musical films, I think another film of mine that is a personal favorite is Catch That Kid. Oh my goodness. As a kid, watching that and being a huge fan of Spy Kids, I would love to see Catch That Kid brought back into modern day. I think the story is already pretty great, and then having just like young thieves go around and everything, like, we can, like, these kids are already out here being wild anyway, so why not like incentivize them to do more, right? It's probably not gonna happen, but Catch That Kid, I would love to see that one. Another film I would like to see is Princess Protection Program. Oh my goodness, that was one of my favorites, because I loved Wizards of Waverly Place and Selena Gomez, and I loved Demi Lovato and So Random, and having her in Camp Rock as well, and then you put these two together in a movie, like, it really captured the characters that they were known for playing for, with Selena Gomez being Alex, more of this like tomboyish, more of this kind of rough around the edge character, and then you get someone like Demi Lovato, who's more of this, who's played Sunny and everything, and just more of a lighter character, lighthearted character, more like sweeter, and you make her a princess, and then you make Alex or Selena a country girl. You throw them together. She now has to watch over her, be her big sister and everything. They take different parts of each other's lives, and just a classic Disney style. So I would love to see that come back as like another one of my personal favorites. And actually, how could I even forget? What? Whoa. Speaking of Lemonade Mouth. Oh my, everybody and their mom has seen Lemonade Mouth. And for me, I really thought Lemonade Mouth was going to be a real band. And to see that it never became a real band endorsed by Disney is criminal. And I want Disney to bring back Lemonade Mouth and turn them into a real band or something. Because I've heard rumors that the reason why Disney doesn't make musicals or like shows about music like that anymore is because of places like TikTok. And with certain companies trying to have industry plans, or they're like AI generated musicians and rappers and artists, Disney might as well just cash in on that as well, and try to take notes from them, because they may have failed, but something like Lemonade Mouth in today's day and age would be great. Like, who wouldn't want to hear a new Determined? Like, who wouldn't want to hear any remix to any of these classics? And they could just recycle the whole story. I would not be opposed to that. Just do it all over again. With an up, and Let It Shine as well. That's another thing that was in my head. Let It Shine. Just make it. That was a go-to movie. Like, I skipped out on going to Destiny Mall in Syracuse just to watch Let It Shine a second time when it premiered, and then I watched it again. I skipped out just so I could watch it again. So I would love to see Let It Shine and bring back Coco Jones for that. She's so bad. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that's my ideas so far for Disney. I would really hope to see what Disney could possibly do with the resources that they have and with the properties and IPs that they have. I've been holding on to for all these years to like move in this light, because eventually it's going to be a point where people aren't really going to be wanting to see Disney princesses anymore. People aren't really going to want to see Mickey Mouse like that. Like, some of our favorite memories, our core memories, come from those eras of being in high school. So we're drawn to Lemonade Mouth. We're drawn to High School Musical. Some of us are just more so like into this new style of music and genre. Like, even think about the type of celebrities you can put in these films. Like, you could just take people like who fit, I guess, the Disney mold when it comes to music. In my personal opinion, I may be wrong. I don't listen to many of them that much, but like, who wouldn't want to see someone like Olivia Rodrigo be like Gabriella in a movie? Hopefully Disney, if you see this, hopefully someone hears about this and they move forward with that. So those are my thoughts, but I'm gonna use this moment to wrap up the movie room. So thank you for showing up to the movie room at the Not Our Crib podcast still.